Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Christmas Eve to one and all. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all going to enjoy the holiday season. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, because literally all I want for Christmas is to see my subscriber count go up. So show a little love, press the subscribe button. So the day after the night before, aren't we? The dust is starting to settle. Few things from last night's card just to want to talk about quickly. First off, Daniel Dubois. I'm really pleased for Daniel Dubois. It's on a personal level for him and as a fighter and for his career. I'm so happy for him. I'm made up for Daniel Dubois. That was a really good fight as well, to be fair. There were, I must admit, sort of early to mid rounds, there was a point where Miller was sort of getting through and landing shots, and I sensed there may be sort of a wobble by Dubois, but he held it together, kept himself together, kept the faith, carried on working away, carried on landing his shots and gradually warming it down. So made up for Daniel Dubois. Really good fight, really good performance. And this is not to take away from Daniel Dubois' performance, but I do think we should remember Jarrell Miller was picked as a voluntary for Anthony Joshua, wasn't he? So we kind of have to look at levels. And this is, like I say, I don't want to take away anything from Daniel Dubois. Made up for him, super happy, great performance. But there are levels, aren't there? Miller turned out to be quite decent in the end, didn't he? His chin was good, you know. He was going to capitulate at some point under Dubois' sort of shots, because Dubois is undoubtedly a puncher, isn't he? A good puncher. So I hope Dubois would go on. That Miller's not a top level opponent, but as a launching pad for a rebuild for Dubois, I thought that was fantastic and a perfect way to start a sort of a remold and a kickstart of his career again after sort of a couple of defeats. So yeah, well done, made up for Daniel Dubois. I've seen a lot on various sort of the boxing channels, all the usual sources this morning. A lot of people talking about how poor Wilder's performance was and how bad he was. I think Sam Jones described him as a piss poor performance. Now, I kind of disagree with a lot of that, because to have a piss poor or a poor performance, you need to put in a performance, and you're either going to put in a good one or a bad one. For me, Wilder didn't put in any kind of performance. He didn't turn up when he didn't fight. So he didn't perform badly. You have to perform at all to perform badly, and he didn't perform. And I think the most telling thing for me was, and I'm kind of the belief now that Deontay Wilder is possibly finished. And the thing that says that more loudly to me than anything else was the fact that after the fight, in his interview, he didn't seem bothered. He didn't seem angry or annoyed or pissed off that he'd lost. He took it in a very calm, accepting manner. And when you accept defeat that easily, that projects something to me. That projects like the intent has gone, the drive has gone, you know, the mentality, the winning mentality, the killer mentality just seems diminished. When you're giving an interview afterwards, he kind of was a bit like, yeah, we will move on, these happen, you lose, we move on and we go again. And I don't think Deontay's got it anymore. Mentally, it doesn't look like he's got it anymore. We talk about, you know, when Joshua lost to Usyk, especially the second time, when he had the little wobble in the ring and people said he had some kind of breakdown, but he threw the belts, didn't he, and gave that little speech. He was pissed off that he'd failed. He felt he'd performed to the best of his ability and it still wasn't good enough, and he lost. And he was angry. He was pissed off. And he projected that. Deontay Wilder wasn't. And that was really more the telling sign for me, was that he just didn't seem that bothered he got beaten. And as you saw in the ring, he didn't do anything. I said last night on the instant reaction, that was one of Joseph Parker's easiest fights at the elite level, by a mile. He wasn't forced into a fight really at any point. Parker must have gone home last night pinching himself, thinking, I can't believe what happened. I've just been, you know, Deontay Wilder's essentially given me a win, because Joseph Parker was good, but Joseph Parker didn't do or need to do anything outstanding to win that fight. He just had to let his hands go a few times And that was kind of it, essentially. He didn't have to bridge Wilder's length. He didn't really have to protect himself from Wilder's right hand. I mean, he said before the fight, the tactic was to take away the right hand, but it was never there to take away. If anyone took away the right hand, it was Wilder because he didn't throw it. So, yeah, really, really odd. But Parker's been given he was always given a bye, wasn't he? But full credit to Parker, great fella, and he's a lovely fella, Parker. You always wish him well because he's a truly nice guy. Will this be a case of lesson learned? Because they overcooked the Joshua v. Wilder fight. They paid the price for leaving that too long. Now, will that be a lesson for the future? Will this be a lesson because it's all about the business side of it. If we can get Joshua and Wilder, a fight individual on the same card, make a ton of money for everyone concerned on that, then we move on, let them fight each other. Will this be a case of now, will they think twice about that now, about taking that gamble? Even when it doesn't seem on the face of it that much of a gamble. Will they go about this differently? Will they think twice about doing this in future? Or, now, did that joint card with sort of the joint top of the bills, did that still make more money than Joshua Wilder fighting each other as a main event on a card with an undercard? What would have made them more money? That super event last night or Joshua Wilder on a card of its own? Because if that did make more money last night than projected for a card with them two top of the bill, maybe they won't learn a lesson. You know, the only ones who are going to care is us as fans. But interesting because, you know, they've paid a price for that, haven't they? They took a gamble and lost with that. So yeah, I don't know what you think. Let me know on that. And then Anthony Joshua, who now, as I said again last night, Joshua hit Wallin with a straight right hand to the body in the first few seconds of the first round. And I got the sense that really affected Wallin. He disguised it very, very well. But as soon as he got hit with that, he was instant retreat. And he kind of stayed instant retreat for the whole fight. Joshua just bullied him and outmanned him and battered him into defeat. And he kind of took away the intent from Wallin really early. You could see that. Wallin, even against Fury, was still pretty cavalier, even late on. He had none of that intent last night from very early on. Once he felt the power and the sharpness of Joshua, it instantly changed his sort of game plan, for me, I believe. Now, when looking at sort of projected future fights or ranking our fighters, you kind of look at sort of their most recent work. That's what you kind of go on, don't you? Now, going on Fury against Ngannou, where Fury looked slow, his feet were bad, his distance was bad, his punches were slow, his defense was poor. And Joshua last night, who for me was better in every single area by quite some distance than Fury was against Ngannou. So at this point, how do we rank number one and number two in the division? Are we still holding the belief that Fury's clearly number one? Or does this now change things going on the two previous last performances? And if we're going to look at those two fighting each other at this point on their last two performances, if the Fury that turned up against Ngannou turned up against Joshua in that form, for me, there's one clear winner. One clear winner, and that turns the whole outlook that we have on the division on its head, because Joshua looked electric. And yes, the fact that for me, he beat the intent and any ambition out of Wallin early with his speed and his power certainly made the rest of the fight quite easy, because from that point on, Joshua just battered him. I tell you what was really impressive with Joshua, looking back at that fight again, was his counter punching. Every time Wallin did lead with a jab or followed it up with a backhand, there was a couple of times where Joshua threw a really sweet sort of counter hook, which was absolutely perfect. One of them really threw Wallin to one side and really moved him, and he really looked wobbled off that shot. I thought for a while, technically, there's not a lot wrong with Joshua. Every area is pretty damn good, or as good as you are going to get it. In terms of, you know, textbook, how he throws his shots, how he boxes, how he uses his feet, how he moves. He looked quick last night, didn't he? Really fast hands. He used his feet well. And he looked really fluid. He looked like always in a flow state. So really interesting, because at this point, in this current point in time, the top of the heavyweight division, who do we put? like I said, on the last two performances, and if you look at the two comparative performances against the same opposition, and the way Fury struggled, and the way Fury threw everything at Wallen to get him out of there, and couldn't, and didn't even really come close, Joshua battered him into submission. So something to talk about. Very interesting. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Anyway, that's it. That was just a few little points I wanted to get across. Hope you all have a fantastic Christmas. Hope you all the best. I think we should remember at this time of Christmas as well. Christmas is a very hard time for some people, whether it be their mental state, whether it be sort of people who are lonely and on their own, people who struggle financially. Let's all try to be, let's hold the door for that person. Let's open, let's let that person out in traffic. Just show a bit more love and be better to one another, because hate breeds hate, but love also breeds love. So, you know, if it's your wife, if it's your brother, if it's your pal, tell them you love them, give them a hug. You know, share the love. That's what we should do. This is what this time of year is all about. That should be like that all year round. But anyway, that's it. As again, please like and subscribe. Give me my Christmas presents. I want to open up tomorrow morning a large big box of subscribers. But anyway, enough love. See you all soon. Merry Christmas. See you soon.